is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. The land is holy, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
Welcome, everyone. This is our last Zoom worship for the year, probably. We will be back at Sky Lake next Sunday at 4, as usual. And it's looking like the weather's going to be totally different by then. Thank goodness. So we are planning to be on the porch of Founders with the heaters surrounding us. So as we kind of wrap up this Zoom worship experience, feel free to use the chat if you want, or we're such a small group, I'm fine if you would like to share out loud where you are and how your week has been on a scale of 1 to 10. And you can say more about the number if you want, or just share the number, but it's nice to check in. So yeah, feel free to use the chat. And we actually don't have an official Zoom host today, but I'm gonna make Valerie the co-host just in case something happens to the Wi-Fi at Sky Lake, which is where I am right now. So yeah, kind of an average week, 5s. Yeah. I spent the weekend here at Sky Lake, which means it was a wonderful end of my week on a little solo retreat. And so it's hard to sort of average it out, but probably Probably up there with Justin, a 7 or so. So wonderful. I'm going to share my screen again with just some upcoming stuff and then some my worship stuff. And because I'm at Skylake, I can't see the chat while I share my screen because I don't have my extra monitor. So if you're trying to get my attention, you can just unmute and say whatever it is that's going on. So spring return next week and every week after until probably the end of the year we'll be at Skylake. And for now, we're just gonna stick to the porch. And if it's really cold, we'll scoot inside of Founders. But hopefully we can tough it out. It's supposed to be 50 degrees, and 50 degrees feels much warmer in March than it does in like November when it starts getting colder. So hopefully we'll be ready for it. We also have coming up a couple of retreats this spring that we're excited about, trying some new things. The Wild Spirit Retreat is a 1-day retreat, April 9th from 10 to 4, and Rich is going to be there, and Cheryl Lyon is also helping lead it. It's just a cool day exploring nature and its connections to our spiritual lives. And then at the end of May, I don't know if my thing is like blocking the slides for everyone else. We're doing an Enneagram retreat. So the Enneagram is a personality typing system, similar to like the Myers-Briggs and these other things that you might have done in the past, but it's sort of, it's a very old system, but it's gaining a lot of popularity as it's recently been sort of released to the world. So this is peer learning. We're not going to have an expert, but we're going to get together for those people who are interested in this. Whether you know anything about it or not, you'll still get something out of the experience. We'll send you like a little evaluation, a little quiz to take to see which type you might be, and we'll get to explore the 9 personality types of the Enneagram and how that can help us in our lives. And we'll get to learn about other types too, which I think is always great. The people we're in relationship with, what are their types? What, how do they tick inside? So it's going to be really fun. That's an overnight. It's 24 hours from 6 p.m. on the 20th to 6 p.m. on the 21st. And links for those are up to register. They're on our Facebook page, and they will be on our website event page by the end of the day. All right, so that's what we've got going on. We're excited to return next week. We have a little bit of an updated order of worship to help things flow and to help people share and get to know each other more. And that was all thanks to the feedback we got from the survey we did about 2 months ago now. So thank you for those who shared your feedback. Now we are going to get started with worship with a poem. Let's see if I can hide these controls. Oh, there we go. All right. Allow by Dana Falds. There is no controlling life. Try corralling a lightning bolt, containing a tornado. Dam a stream and it will create a new channel. Resist and the tide will sweep you off your feet. Allow and grace will carry you to higher ground. The only safety lies in letting it all in, the wild with the weak, fear, fantasies, failure, and success. When loss rips off the doors of the heart, or sadness veils your vision with despair, practice becomes simply bearing the truth. In the choice to let go of your known way of being, the whole world is revealed to your new eyes.
I came home like a stone, and I fell heavy into your arms. These days of dust, which we've known, will blow away with this new sun. And I'll kneel down, wait for now. And I'll kneel down, know my ground. And I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. So break my step and breathe in. You forgave and I won't forget. Lord, we've seen and with less, and in some way shake the excess. 'Cause I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. Now I'll be bold as well as strong. Use my hand alongside my heart. Take my flesh, fix my eyes, that tether mine free from the lies. And I'll kneel down, wait for now. And I'll kneel down, know my ground. 'Cause I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. And I will wait for you. And I will wait for you.
Our wisdom today comes from the Lama Surya, known as the Western Lama. He says, the legendary cellist Pablo Casals was asked why he continued to practice at age 90. Because I think I'm making progress, he replied. A great Zen master once said that when enlightenment experiences happen, they are accidents. He then added, but spiritual practice makes us accident prone. Now we have a video from Rich about some of his spiritual practices and how they connect with nature.
Hi, my name is Rich Hanlon. I'm your Wild Neighbors Nature Connection Nature Guide, and today I want to share with you how Taoist, Christian, and Native American philosophy and spiritual practices help me to cultivate a sense of balance in my life, a sense of peace with my neighbors, and a sense of harmony with nature's community. Taoist philosophy teaches one to live in tune with the forces of nature. And so as I seek balance in my life, I pray that the divine spirit would empower me to live my life in ways that are in tune with the flowing waters, in tune with the changing seasons, and perhaps even in tune with the wary squirrel who is in the forest above me right now. As I seek to cultivate the gift of peace with my neighbors, I welcome this wisdom from Jesus, recognizing that Jesus taught his first followers about forgiveness as a path to peace. Jesus said, I leave you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace that I give is a gift that the world cannot give. Now, Jesus, in teaching forgiveness as a path to peace, presents something that is absolutely critical in my daily rhythm of living. And so I take a moment each day to the best of my ability, call to mind my failures to love others. And then I welcome the gift of forgiveness. And in a similar fashion, I call to mind, to the best of my ability, others' failures to love me. And then I welcome and share and extend that gift of forgiveness. As I seek to cultivate harmony with nature's community, I first want to recognize that here at Round Top Park in Athens, Pennsylvania, we are on the ancestral lands of the Susquehannock Native American tribe. And the more I come to understand about Native American cultural life and spirituality, the more I have come to cherish, really, the practices known as reciprocity and kinship with the land. And so as I seek to cultivate harmony with the fullness of nature's community, I ask the Divine Spirit to help me to, in my every interaction with my wild neighbors, to say to the oak tree in the forest, in my heart, the Spirit in me welcomes and respects as a beloved community member the Spirit in you. To the blue jay who flies through the understory of the forest, the divine spirit in me welcomes and respects as a member of the beloved community the Spirit in you. And so this has just been me sharing something of my spiritual practices and daily living with you. And if there's something of value that you find in what I've shared with you today, I'm thankful for that. And I thank you for joining me at Round Top Park in Athens, Pennsylvania, on the ancestral lands of the Susquehannock Native American tribe. I wish you the best and a sense of balance with yourself, peace with your neighbors, and harmony with nature's community. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.
All right. So last week we began a new series, a new focus that I've started calling Heart and Soul, SOLE, to help us think about how do we connect our heart and our feet in a metaphorical way. How do we connect what we feel, what we believe, with what we do, how we act, how we live? And part of me wants to say this is so crucial and important because it doesn't really matter what we think, right? I know I don't want to go all the way down that path, because I do think it matters what we think in a lot of ways. But whatever people believe about the universe, the world, and their place in it really doesn't matter. What matters is how they treat other people, how they treat themselves, how they treat the earth, right? You know, for a while there was the flying spaghetti monster. Anybody familiar with flying spaghetti monsterism? It was sort of a joke religion that somehow got started, that people would talk about God or the universe as the flying spaghetti monster. And I'm sure there's all kinds of actual stuff people made up about it. But, you know, if you want to believe in the flying spaghetti monster, fine. What matters to me is how you treat people. How do you live out your belief in the flying spaghetti monster? What does that mean? Yes, definitely a language in there for people to think about too. The words we use, how much do they matter? I would say a fair amount, but ultimately, again, what matters is what we do. How do we align our hearts and our souls of our feet? How do we align what we think and believe with how we live and act? And so last week we talked about how behavior actually ends up changing our thinking and feelings, and can even change beliefs. We watched part of a TED Talk from A.J. Jacobs about his year of living biblically. And you can go back and watch last week's worship on our YouTube channel too. It's so good. And his main lesson from a year of trying to follow every single rule in the Bible, the main thing he learned was that doing these behaviors actually changed how he thought, how he felt, and even some of his beliefs. He shifted in his thinking and beliefs. So we can't think ourselves into new behaviors. We think that's how it works. We think I just got to get my mind right and get up the gumption or whatever it is and go and do the thing. And science, along with ancient wisdom and traditions, tell us no. That's why we have rituals. That's why we have all of these rules. You get your body going through the motions, and then your brain comes around. And then we start to live into our truest, best selves, right? So that's why it's really important to think about practicing. And I remember a couple months ago, while we were painting every room in our new house, it was a perfect time to listen to some podcasts that I had been missing out on. And one of my favorite comedians is Pete Holmes. He's this tall, goofy looking, white bread boy from Massachusetts. And he grew up, he himself got into evangelical religion and became a youth pastor until his wife cheated on him and they divorced, and he totally deconstructed his faith and became a stand-up comedian. And so you might see why I love him so much, because he has this religious background and he knows so much about religion and the Bible, and yet now he has a different perspective on it, and he critiques it, and he sees the value in so much of it, but sees how it went so painfully wrong for a lot of people. So he has this podcast where it's not one particular topic, they cover lots of topics, but he and his guests often end up talking about spirituality. And he was talking with somebody about, he mentioned he does something regularly as part of his practice. So it's a podcast, right? So you couldn't see his face, but you could hear in his voice, he's like, yeah, it's a part of my practice. And he was putting that emphasis on it because he knows when people say something like, oh yes, this is part of my practice, it can sound a little pretentious, it could sound a little woo-woo, as he might say. But he was still talking about his spiritual practice. He still felt like it was an important enough thing to talk about, even though he's a comedian, he was making fun of it. But he too has a spiritual practice, even though he's agnostic, no longer Christian or any religion, he has developed his own personal practices. And this is what I hope we can focus on for the next month, is spiritual practices, what kinds they are, why we need them. And it made me think of the old joke about a guy who goes to New York City to go to a concert, and he gets lost, and he sees somebody with a violin case, and he says, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? And the musician replies, practice, practice, practice. So not helpful for that poor tourist, but that's how we achieve the pinnacle of what we want to become, right? For a musician, it's playing at Carnegie Hall. For us, it's becoming our best selves. We need to practice to be the kind of human that we most want to be. We practice all other kinds of skills. We shared this week in our Discord chat about the things that we've been practicing throughout our lives. And I realized, I had to really think about it. I realized, I guess I've been practicing poetry writing for the longest. So think about what things have you practiced for the longest? A skill or a sport or instrument, language. We have to keep practicing to get to the pinnacle of what it is that we want to get to. So for people practice, what is that? What does that look like? For musicians, it's Carnegie Hall. For people, the practice, I believe, is this lovely quote I will share with you from Richard Rohr, who says, the true purpose of mature religion is to lead you to ever new experiences of your true self. If religion does not do this, it's junk religion. every sacrament, every Bible story, every church service, every sermon, every hymn, every bit of priesthood, ministry, or liturgy is for one purpose: to allow you to experience your true self, who you are in God and who God is in you, and to live a generous life from that infinite source. So that's the goal of people practice. That's what we're working towards, to be our true self. And I had to stop and even think, I'm not sure I know who is my true self? So I think that's a good question to start with. Who is my true self? When has there been a time I have felt like my true self, whether it's all of my different roles sort of molding into one, or getting to the core of my being? Who am I underneath all the roles that I play in life? And if we think about nature as being this incredible display of the divine, embodying the creator, we know we are part of that, right? We are an embodiment of the divine. I dare say our souls are each an extension of God. That spark of life that is within us comes from God. So each of us is our own unique expression of the divine. And that's where we're trying to get with finding our true selves. This is why we need practices every day that will push us and challenge us a little bit to get beyond our comfort zones, to get below the surface of our animal thinking and being, and to go deep to that source, that infinite source, as Roar said, that expression we each get of the one who made us. So it gets messy when we push ourselves out of our comfort zones, right? And allow me just to dispel any myths that we might have around this idea of practice. In this way, practice does not make perfect. Because that's not our goal, right? Our goal is truth, our true selves. So in this work, practice makes progress. And that's why I loved that quote from Pablo Casals, the cellist, still practicing at age 90, because he's making progress. And he understands it in that way. And then to pair that with the idea that practice makes us enlightenment prone, that our daily spiritual practices are not going to result in mountaintop moments or these huge enlightenment revelations every time we practice them. Most of the time we practice them, it's going to feel like drudgery. We're going to have to convince ourselves to do them. There's this TikTok trend I've seen of people posting videos about how they're going on their stupid walk for their stupid mental health today, and like sharing about the stupid things that they do to keep their stupid minds and bodies healthy. And that is, I love it so much, because that's exactly the spirit of spiritual practices. We do these stupid things, just like A.J. Jacobs said last week. Why are we doing all these stupid things? Like, you know, all the Jewish kosher laws and all this stuff he was trying to follow. What is the point of them? And all the religious experts said, we don't know, but they give us meaning. They give our lives meaning. They order our time, and they keep us focused on God, on the divine. So think about or share in the chat if you want. What are some of your spiritual practices? What are those things that you make yourself go do, even though you don't want to? Or maybe there's some that you love doing. It's not a spiritual practice, but it made me think of, I have a bulging disc in my neck. So I have like times of a lot of neck pain. So I had to get this special pillow, and it is not comfortable at all. It is not a comfortable pillow to sleep on. But since I've gotten it, I've had a lot less neck pain. So every night I have to like lay down on this uncomfortable pillow, knowing that it's actually good for me. So what are things like that we do for ourselves? Yoga, meditation, yes. I was saying it was so good for me that the weekly Sunday saunters were a part of my job. Like we were doing them as part of Church in the Wild, so I had to show up. And now that they're over, I think I want to schedule another weekly walking opportunity, mostly just for myself, because I know that's something that's really good for not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, is to just get out and walk. Yeah, reading more is doing, morning pages, something to start your day out. So think about these practices. Maybe some of them we have let go, which is okay. We're not aiming for perfect. We're not aiming for every day or an hour every day, or, we're aiming for more than nothing is our goal. So what things can you pick back up and do a little bit more than nothing of? Doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to bring enlightenment every time. But just remember, accidents happen. And as we keep practicing, as we keep doing our people practice, our spiritual practices, it will make us enlightenment prone and help us grow to connect and fully express our true selves. May that be so for us all. And may we continue on this journey of exploring spiritual practices for the next month as we head into spring. And now we get to experience our very own time of meditation with Valerie.
Right. I think I feel called to keep it simple. In our time of meditation today, I hope to do just a simple practice of resting our attention on the breath, and whenever our attention wanders, coming back. My partner's daughter said, "Oh, I can't do meditation, I'm bad at it." And I don't know exactly what she meant, because if you're distracted over and over again, it might feel like you're being bad at meditation because you're not blissed out and quiet in the mind, but actually you're just practicing a lot. You're practicing coming back to the breath. And oh dear, am I still with you, Corey? My screen went dark.
You're good. We can see
Okay.
you.
All right, so I'll just work from here then. So I invite you at this time to find a posture you can hold comfortably for the next few minutes. Something that will allow you to be relaxed, but also remain alert. Let your eyes find a spot, maybe on the screen or a few feet in front of you, and let your gaze be soft, a loose focus. Notice the space around you, the ambient sounds, any smells, the temperature, the texture of your clothes. Take a moment to check in with your body, scanning at your pace from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet. Practice noticing every part of the body and how it feels in this present moment. I invite you now to bring your awareness to your natural breath. See if you can follow one complete cycle of breath from the moment the air enters through your mouth or nose to the pause between inhale and exhale, all the way through to the moment when the air leaves your body. See if you can follow the complete cycle of just one breath. Wherever you found that the breath was most noticeable to you, rest your attention on that point. I invite you to count your breaths. Inhale 1, exhale 2, inhale 3, exhale 4, all the way up to 10. And then begin again at 1. If you notice that your attention has wandered from the breath and the counting, notice that distraction and practice coming back to rest your awareness in the present moment. If you find yourself distracted again and again, gently notice it and come back as many times as you need. And with the next out breath, you can release your mind from this practice and let it wander wherever it wants. I invite you to scan your body once more. Notice if there's been any change since we began our practice today, going from the top of the head to the bottom of your feet. If it feels right for you, I invite you to offer yourself gratitude for engaging with this practice and offering gratitude to the divine spirit within you and around you that's accompanied you. And whenever you're ready, I invite you to bring your awareness back to the space where you're sitting. And back to our community.
Thank you, Valerie. So now we have an opportunity to all share what we're grateful for this week. If there's anything you're particularly grateful for, feel free to share it in the chat. I'm grateful for that meditation. What a great way to end the weekend. I'm very grateful for having a way. Yay. Changing seasons. Ah, yeah. Grace, flexibility. Yeah, congratulations, Russ. Oh, spring flowers. I hope they've survived this. Well, we are grateful for all we've been given. Our great world that provides for everything we need. We know when we share all these gifts, we can do more good in the world. So this month, we are doing 40 Days of Bags challenge, collecting all of our plastic for 40 days, and then taking it into the supermarket to have it recycled. And again, this is like this can be a spiritual practice, and it's like anything that it doesn't need to be perfect. We're aiming for every piece of soft plastic that enters our homes, but we know we're not ever going to be perfect in that way, or we might not be able to do all 40 days, or maybe we do a week at a time, but we're doing it to show how much plastic is still in our world, still being produced and sold to us, despite there being a ban on plastic shopping bags. We're still drowning in plastic. So we need to take another step and utilize the technology that exists to have some other way of packaging our goods other than plastic. So join us in this challenge. Post your bag of bags pictures with this hashtag. We're also looking forward to our March work day, which is the last Saturday of March, the 26th, helping the Binghamton Food Rescue free food distribution. They do every Saturday at 85 Walnut Street. And the times are 12:30 to 3, but if you can come for any amount of time during that period, come and lend a hand. And hopefully the weather will be better than it was this Saturday. I think they canceled this Saturday, actually. So it's a great organization that does exactly the kind of stuff we need to keep doing. They rescue food that would otherwise be thrown away and get it to people who need it. Thanks, Valerie, for sharing the links for the retreats. Very exciting. And now we get to set our intentions for the week ahead. How do we want to live this week? This is another great spiritual practice to do Sunday evenings or Monday morning or every morning, to just say, okay, what do I need today? What's the word? What's the phrase? And let it come to you if you can. How do you want to live this week? Joyfully. I love it. Intentionally. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. For some reason, I'm thinking measured. You know, just doing what needs to be done. One step at a time, measured. Last week, what ended up being our last Sunday saunter, we said, wow, transitions are messy, because it was really muddy. And so we're going to have another one of these transition weeks from winter to spring, and it's going to be messy. And we can embrace the messiness, knowing what lies on the other side. And to trust that in our own lives, that when we're going through a messy transition, there will be newness, new life on the other side of it. Yeah, peace. Such good stuff. Well, I hope we can all live intentionally, no matter what word or phrase is guiding us. And so we'll share our closing blessing and have our closing song of our final Zoom worship for the year. And then feel free to stick around if you want to chat and unmute. May the deep peace of running wave to you, deep peace of flowing air to you, deep peace of the quiet earth to you, deep peace of the shining stars to you, deep peace of the source of peace to you.